Okay, so that's why we round. So the main reason that ever happens in real life is often talking about money. Okay, so if I have $9.95, right? If something has that price tag, I want to in my head just round it to $10, right? So that I know how much it costs. Another reason for money that rounding may happen is when you do add tax on your $9.95 t shirt that you're going to buy. And now you also have to pay the tax on it, which then gives you a price of $10 and then 49 cents and then all those numbers after it. So in this case, you round up just because numbers can't go out past the hundredths place. So I'm looking at the 49, but then there's a 7 after it. So it's going to round up to $10.50 when you add on your tax. So that's one main reason to round. Another one is you're dealing with like super big numbers, like say, okay, Google, how many people live in the United States? Okay, big number, hard to work with, and really long to say. So we might want to round it to just the millions and just say that the population of the United States is about, let's do the little about sign, 328 million instead of writing the whole thing out. Now let's talk about how we round. And this is where things get confusing sometimes. After a while, it becomes more automatic. But the main thing that gets confusing is often what do we call the numbers on either side of the decimal point? Okay, we know when we're going to the left, we're in whole numbers. And when we go to the right, it's anything over here is going to be less than 1. And when we go to the right, we also kind of group things in groups of 3 numbers, like we just saw with the millions, right? Over here, this side, we don't really group with 3s all that much. Like we definitely do not put commas over here, although we put commas in here. And this first little one is actually 2, and then we go 3s this way. So this is, we talk about it, this grouping is the ones to the hundreds. Then we have the thousands. Then we have the millions. And then here we have hundredths, millionths, and billionths. And I did not put the TH on there because I want to use a different color to really make that stand out. Okay, and then in these groups of 3s with this weird group of 2, we have our ones, tens, hundreds, which then repeats. Okay, so a number that starts here, we would say, if this was a 300 thousands, if it was in this place. If we move the 3 way down to here, it's 3 tens, which we would call 30 in English, right? Over here, then, we have the same thing, but it works this way towards the, we're going towards the decimal point both ways. Now, here's where I always get confused. There is no once. It goes ones, and then decimal point, and then tenths, then hundredths. And then the pattern continues over here where you have 1 millionth, 10 millionth, 100 millionth, on and on out. Okay. In terms of what we do in 5th grade, we really only kind of focus on this area where we go from the hundredths, the tenths, the ones, the tens, the hundreds, and maybe into the thousands. Okay. So keeping that all in mind, when we round, we're basically just trying to take off stuff on this side that adds detail that we don't need. If we were to do money again, and what you want to do is round it to the nearest cent, which in this case would be tenths, hundredths. If we want to round it and just get rid of this, generally speaking, half the time you can just do that. You can just get rid of this part and say 21 is gone. But half the time, and that's called rounding down, where you just get rid of it. Rounding up is when the number next to the number you're trying to round is 5 or above. So if this is 5, if this is 6, if this is 7, 8, or 9, it's enough to tip it over and make this number one bigger. Okay? So in rounding, the number we're rounding to has 2 options. The number it is, which is rounding down, and the number one above it, which is rounding up. And how you decide if you keep it the same or round up is by what number this is. Okay, so again, if we are rounding, because I'm going to buy something for $327.38, and I say what I really need to know is how many $20 bills I need, or how many $100 bills I need, I would look, let's do tens. I have a whole bunch of $10 bills and I want to pay for something that is $327.38. So I'm going to round. First thing I'm going to do is just be able to get rid of the cents, right? And look at $327 and figure out if I have $10 bills, I'm trying to round to the tens place. Okay, so because this number is a 7, I'm going to round this number up to a 3. So I'm rounding it up, and I know that it's going to be about $330 for whatever I'm buying. Line up the decimal point. I'm just going to work with through the hundredths. Okay, so 2 places here, tens and hundredths. And then let's just do the 3 places here, ones, tens, hundreds. Okay. So let's put in some random numbers. 2, 8, 9, 1, 7. Okay. If I want to round this to the ones, this is the 1 place. I'm either going to keep it a 9 or I'm going to round it up to a 10. Okay, which would then move this from 89 to 90. So I look over here and I'm like, do I round it up or do I keep it the same? This is a 1, so I keep it the same. I'm just going to get rid of this and be 289 and just stop there. If This was a 9. This is sometimes where it gets tricky, the 9 to the 0 piece. I look next to it, 9 is a 5 or above, so I know I don't keep it a 9. I go up 1. Up 1 from 9 is 10. So that is a 0, and then 1 over added to here. So 290 is 1 above 289, which you would round to if that number is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Okay, and then one more example. Okay, right away I'm looking at these, see all the numbers are 5 or above, so I know I'm going to round up no matter what number the teacher throws at me to round to. Okay, so if we're going to round to this, oh, that doesn't work though. So if we're going to round to the tenths, this number, tenths with a TH at the end, I look over here, I see this is a 5 or above, I get rid of it, and I do this 1 up, and that is rounded. Okay, lovely. Thank you all for hanging out with me while we talked about rounding.